Coming up on today's episode, Tesla stock goes up to space and then comes back down and lands again. China factory gets shut down for coronavirus, and we're going to look back at 2 years of the Falcon Heavy. Let's get ludicrous. Hey there, and welcome to Our Ludicrous Future. This is the podcast where we talk about all the cool future stuff that's happening right now that's going to make tomorrow totally ludicrous. I'm Joe Scott with the Answers with Joe YouTube channel, and with me somewhere is Tim Dodd.
Yeah, hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. In Florida, where apparently there still is an internet here, because this is like the third week in a row where I feel like the internet's so bad that you can't see my face. So I'm also hanging out with Ben Solons.
What's up, guys? It's Ben Solons from Telsonomics, where there is internet, apparently, although it is spotty, so, I'm with you. Comes and goes. We have actually some of the worst internet in this country. It was just really surprising.
In San Diego?
No, in the U.S.
Wait,
like the U.S. has the worst internet in the U.S.?
In the U.S.?
You said in the country.
It's early, guys. I'm hours behind you.
Off to a great start.
Speaking of internet, I think we have some people listening to us on the internet right now, live.
Oh no!
Those would be our amazing Patreons on Discord. Hi, everybody.
Hi there, everybody. Hi.
I see Greg. I see
D. Grummer.
Well, Ben Price doesn't count. He's our guy.
Yeah, there's
I see Greg.
strong.
And was Comrade? No, that's
D.
from last
Grummer.
time.
Yeah, we got some people hanging out.
D. Grummer. What's up, guys? How are you?
Thanks for
joining us live here and listening in. They get to hear this before the rest of you guys. So,
and
if you want to join them, you can do so on Patreon.
Mm-hmm. So they get to hear all the stuff that actually gets cut out, all the mistakes that actually get cut out. We leave so many of them in. There's some that actually get cut out.
Yes.
You mean we're not perfect at recording? Oh.
Well, I am.
We only start an hour late every week.
Every single week. Yeah, we should definitely, I feel like patrons from now on, if you're listening to this, like, we always say, like, I think, what is it, 11 Central, basically? It's 11:40 is the most realistic time. Like, anything before that, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, I feel bad now because they're just sitting there for like an hour waiting for us to get our S together.
Well, speaking of getting our S together, what are we going to start with today, guys? There's a lot of fun stuff.
I think we should start by saying thanks to everybody who came out to Fully Charged this last weekend, and thanks to the people at Fully Charged for having us. It was a lot of fun, and got to shake a lot of hands and meet some cool people and hang out with you guys. And I think we should start there.
Yeah, that was awesome. And we did a little speech live. We had so they had a room called the quote unquote mega theater, which was basically a small conference room that could maybe hold 100 people. And,
maybe, yeah, not even.
It was small. And so
way more than 100 when I spoke there.
Joe had people standing on their heads to try to get in.
Because that makes sense.
So we ended up asking, since we were one of the last speeches of the day, if we could do it outside. There's like catering trucks outside, and this is catering trucks, and then there's a band playing. And when the band was done playing, we just were like, hey, can we use this PA? And we ended up doing our session outside, and we did some Why Don't They Justs. But unfortunately, we blinded every single human being who was there because the sun was setting directly behind us.
Yeah.
So send your bills to fullychargedusa.com.
Yeah, your upcoming eye exam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your retina surgery. So Tim, did you get any feedback from like actual, I guess, physicists or scientists or whatever from your presentation about the pollution?
Yeah, I had two.
I was curious about that. I forgot to ask.
Yeah, I had two people. So for those of you listening, I did a speech version of my upcoming rocket pollution video, and it was a good time to get some feedback from the right crowd. I mean, that's probably the right crowd of people to really be talking about that type of stuff. And I definitely had some good feedback. I've seen good feedback online. One guy in particular really gave me like 3 solid notes that I'm working to tweak my actual script. And I think I realized I need to make it less comparative and really just say like, here's what comes out of a rocket. Really focus on that and not necessarily try to like compare it to everything, but just say for some context, here's what comes out of an airplane. For some context, here's what comes out of blah, blah, blah.
Like instead of all the different rockets, because you were like comparing all the different types of fuel and...
I think I'll still do all that, to really focus on that, actually focus on the different rockets and stuff like that, as opposed to really trying to put it in its place, because that's where I could get in trouble, is if I try and draw all these conclusions about like, rockets aren't a big deal. You know, it's like, it's not really fair for me to draw those conclusions, you know?
Well, and
I thought that was the strongest point, but
yeah, like what's the most sustainable rocket, right, in terms of evolution?
And I talked about that. So I don't know. I'm gonna make some tweaks to the script. We'll see. Maybe I'll just keep it similar and have a big old fat asterisk on the whole thing. But anyway, yeah. Hi guys. Long time no see.
Yeah, it was a good time, and it was really cool
Still
to
no
be in
see,
Austin, and just hang with all those folks. So thanks everyone that came out and said hi and all that. I think we all were exhausted, but also happy that we got to do that. So
Yeah.
other
we had
than
a good time.
Austin mayor, whoever, if you're listening, can you please fix that freeway thing?
Oh my!
I don't know what the hell is going on with the roads in Austin.
The roads.
Especially considering it's just a big flat whatever. It's not like mountains and craziness. It's literally, but other than that, I think everything was pretty good.
it's just way too many people.
It was insane. Yeah, the roads every single road is under, and it's not like, here's the deal. I feel like if you're doing road work, normally you do like a section at a time. I feel like Austin's like, hey, let's do all of it at the same time. Every road that we have, let's make sure it's all under construction. And it just made it impossible to get anywhere.
Yeah, it really diminished any confidence I had in self-driving cars after going through. Because the car just kept
the navigation
of
my car was just like, I got nothing. I don't know. You figure it out, bud.
You're in the river. I hope this is a boat.
Right.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, that one time on the way back from the Circuit of the Americas, I did like 3 U-turns just to stay on the same road.
Yeah, it was like you go
like
right, U-turn, and then it goes right again, and then U-turn, and then it goes. You just kept like, it was ridiculous.
It was so weird.
I was somehow going the right direction and totally lost at the same time.
You're like, that away is where we need to go.
So bad.
Okay, well, you want to get into some Tesla stuff since we're talking electric vehicles?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so I don't normally like to talk about the stock market because I'm just generally not a fan, but big news in the stock market world with regards to Tesla. Current price as a recording is right around I'm reading the 6 there. $767, kind of bouncing around today, which is up almost 5% on the day. However, it is down a huge percentage from 2 days ago, where it closed at $961, almost reaching $1,000 a share, which is absolutely bonkers. Because just a month or two ago, let's see what, like 3 months ago, what it was. 3 months ago, it was $300. So it was like 300% gain, almost. Wow. Just absolutely nuts this past couple of weeks. And the thing about it that really got me was it didn't make any sense. Like, yes, Tesla, since the earnings report, they had a great earnings report. They were profitable. Deliveries were up, all those things. Like, there was a lot of really positive news, and then the China factory and all this. But it just kept going. It just kept going. Because you can see right around when the stock, when the earnings call came out, like, yeah, it had a big jump. But people just got really kind of drunk on this and just kept letting it ride. And so now it's down to...
Well, wait, go back a little bit further, because there was a huge jump in overnight trading, basically.
When?
On, from Friday or whatever, or the day of the earnings call.
Yeah, so you're looking at January 31st at 650, which is already insane. And then February 4th, 887. So that's a massive jump. And then it, came all the way back down, and now. So all in all, it's still up a tremendous amount. But it had this kind of like really like we're all really drunk and let's just like, go to the bar kind of thing. And then, now you have a bit of the hangover the next day. But I think the overall trend is still very positive. And if you were to fast forward maybe 6 months, I would not be shocked if we're well over $1,000 per share. Because, the way these things are, they go up and they go down, right? This is my whole thing about, the stock market. Like if you're trying to make a short-term gain, you're really, playing with fire. It's really not the right thing to do. And this is a classic example of that. So, I think the general trend is going up. Would not be shocked if, by Q3, we're well over $1,000. So, good shout out to all the investors that are hanging on, because you guys are probably going to do very well.
Yeah.
The question is, why did it come down? And there's one bit of news that you could point to, but I don't know. I think it just came down because it was just a bit crazy. Like it was just, it was just inflated because that's the thing. Like when, they have a positive earnings report, you're like, oh, great. Yeah, the stock went up. That makes sense. But then when it keeps flying like crazy high for no reason at all, you're like, all right, something's going to happen. So the one bit of news that was somewhat bad was that Tesla temporarily closed their China stores due to the coronavirus. And I also was reading that the factory was shut down. I don't know if still or just temporarily, but with that, the coronavirus going kind of crazy right now in China, I think a lot of the China stuff is going to be slowing down, which probably hurts their overall outlook for the year. I don't know by how much, probably an insignificant percent. I guess depending on how long the coronavirus thing goes on and the severity of it and all that. So, so China, slowing down a little bit, which is one of the big reasons why they had this big run was because of China. So it makes sense. But overall, the stock is still up a tremendous amount and doing well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think, for me, personally, I think the conference call or the quarterly results was just a matter of like finally like resting a lot of uncertainty for investors where, they're just kind of like, well, if you're not paying attention to every little tiny detail like a lot of us are, overall it just sort of seems like, sure, they're doing okay, but is this really, are they really on track to, I don't know, be a huge car company and all these things, and I think the quarterly call is finally like, here's why we're dominating. Like, here are our numbers. And basically from here on out, like we're going to make money and we're going to also continue to make way more cars. And here you go,
Yeah. We're looking at a chart here that kind of explains a little bit of that super, that jump to almost 1,000 was look at the trading volume here, like a typical, I don't know, we're right around like 15 to 20 million shares and all that. And then right when it started to spike up, it jumps, instead of 15 or 20 million shares, you're looking at like 50 to 60 million shares changing hands. So that's where you see that massive spike. And then it came back down. But
were those short sellers having to lose their lunch?
Like buy, to kind of cover their bets or whatever. What's that called?
Or
naked spread.
I don't know. Or was it when you actually don't you have to unload them if you short, you're promising to buy it at a certain point, and what happens when?
Yeah, and the idea is if the price goes down, then you make the difference. If the price goes up, then you're losing that amount. So at some point they could be dumping those options, and then, but they probably are holding on to them. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if you can really see that level of detail in terms of the types of options, right? Because and not to go down, and I'm not the most knowledgeable, but like what you're doing are called put options. And that's options trading. This is like the betting on if it's going to go up or down versus just buying the stock. So it's a whole different kind of ballgame and how that works. And even being able to do that means you have to have from your investment broker like higher, like elevated privileges in order to buy that. Like if you guys have never done it, you can't just go short the stock. You have to like actually get permission to do that from them and all that. So who knows? I don't know if we have details on that, but certainly the short sellers are having a no good, bad, terrible year when it comes to Tesla stock, which is ironic because that's one of the most shorted stocks in the world. So, yeah.
Well, and I was wondering if this jump had something to do with the shorts have had such a loud voice over the last few years in terms of like saying, oh, the naysayers basically they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that. Did we just kind of reach a point where the market was like, okay, they're actually doing that, and the shorts are just like their entire thesis or whatever just fell apart?
Yeah.
Like, is it at that point? Is that kind of what caused it? I mean,
free the data, man. I mean, what? Just look at the earnings report, look at the production numbers, look at China, And I think when you see people like Jim Cramer out there, who's you know, think what you want of him, a loud voice in this space,
in multiple ways.
right, yeah, not giving him extra credit that maybe he doesn't deserve, but just saying he has an impact here, and him getting up there, basically being like, yes, 100%, and people like Kevin O'Leary saying, yes, it's legit, you know, for all these different reasons. I think maybe the market just kind of swung a little bit. You know, to where they're looking more at reality versus any kind of speculative stuff that they may have been thought before, you know. And that's the hard part, right? Is like, yeah, of course, the people that have a short interest in Tesla are going to be the purveyors of fake news, or even if it's not fake, they're going to emphasize the negative stuff to try to have a financial gain, which as they should. That's what their job is as a thing. But you know, you can't really trust any of that, I guess, is the point, right? So when you look at any of it, like, you know, it's part of the reason why I don't have any interest in Tesla. Like, besides me just not believing in the stock market in general, if I were to be a huge investor in Tesla, then I have a video that's positive of them. Well, yeah, there is a legit financial incentive for me to be overly positive.
Yeah, it's tainted.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of wrong if you are somebody that is talking about a company, then, and you also own an interest in that company, you should just disclose that, like, hey, I'm super positive on this company, and by the way, it's because I make money when their stock goes up. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, versus a more like journalistic approach where it's like, look, I'm just reporting the facts here. You know, we all have our biases, but it's just extra when you have a legit financial incentive.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That being said, I feel like I should say, I mean, I've got some stocks, some Tesla stock. Not a lot, but...
Stonks.
I've got some Tesla stonks. So everything I say is just me trying to pump up the stock. So sorry, guys.
That's right.
I love my Tesla. Wink, wink. It's actually upside down right now. I don't know.
Yeah. But the thing about it is Tesla doesn't need any of this. You know, that's the amazing thing, right? Like, like just gives anybody a ride in it, and they are guaranteed to have a positive experience.
Oh, that's something I wanted to talk to you guys about. I think I said it in person. I don't think I talked about it too much on the show, but like it's cool to finally see my dad coming around even. And my dad is, you know, he's always been like a techie guy and all this stuff, but he's always just thought, you know, Teslas, I don't know. You know, he's like, they're shiny and they have all these cool things, but like, really, like, does it all make sense? You know, he just never wanted to commit to it, you know? And now, ever since I gave my parents a ride and their friends were here at their condo for a little bit, I took them all out to dinner. You know, we did karaoke, we did all the fun things. And now I came back to the Gulf Coast here to hang out with my parents, and my dad's sitting here asking me all these questions and just asking me, like, looking at the configurator of the Model Y, and he's like very strongly considering a Model Y now. So it finally happened for him. You know, I don't know what exactly clicked, but it finally happened. And he's sitting here watching, you know, Tesla videos and stuff. And it's just funny because all of a sudden it finally clicked for him that he's like, yeah, this is really cool.
And he didn't do it because he wanted to save the environment or the whales or keep polar bears off of icebergs and stuff.
Right.
And yet, how many EV commercials were there at the Super Bowl? And they were all talking about that. So first of all, I'm still blown away by the fact that Tesla is doing as well as they are, and they're moving the industry as fast as they are with no marketing whatsoever.
Well,
no TV ads, no advertising.
I was going to say they're genius at marketing.
Yeah.
Right. But advertising is a different animal.
But whenever you hear about somebody that has quote unquote converted to wanting to do a Tesla, it's the tech stuff, it's the fun and games on the screen, it's the driving experience, it's that kind of thing. It's not Arya Stark singing, you know, while cars are stuck in traffic. It's
100%.
Anyway.
Now, can we talk about some other electric cars real quick since you brought it up? So Maisie Williams sang in the e-tron, was it? e-tron?
Yeah, I think that was the e-tron. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, at Fully Charged, we had a lot of conversations about other electric cars and whether or not, you know, kind of they're legit and if we should be supportive of it or if it's kind of what, you know, I guess they'd call greenwashing, right? Mm-hmm. But one thing I saw, and this was a car that was at Fully Charged Live, was the Porsche Taycan, and this came out recently from autoblog.com. They took it on a real-world range test, which is absolutely what I want to do as well. And I read through this whole article. It was very interesting. But basically, the range test they did, and I've seen a couple others as well, and even in my own range test, we're looking at like 260 real-world miles in the Porsche Taycan. And the EPA rating is only 201. So there's something seriously flawed with how this measurement works. And obviously, there's a million factors that go into this. But I was really surprised about this and actually really excited because this was a big thing where the kind of hardcore Tesla fanboys were like, oh, see, it's a piece of garbage. It can't go 800 miles on a charge. And it's like, well, first off, it's a $250,000 track car, so who gives a crap, right? The next thing is, in reality, it goes much further than that, meaning, yes, while it still is a $250,000 car at the high end, it is far more practical than maybe those kind of numbers came out. And so I guess it just makes me question the whole way that we come up with these ratings, the EPA rating or the European WLTP, which is like, extra, on drugs compared to this one. So anyway, so I just wanted to mention that when you see these numbers, I think that it's still worth considering an electric vehicle that maybe fits or, tickles your fancy for whatever reason or fits your needs better than someone else. Like Tesla makes the best EVs objectively. I don't think anyone would argue that. But it doesn't mean that, if you can get a used Chevy Bolt for $15,000, $16,000, that's not a good option to consider. Right. So I think as we see more data come out, obviously, we can start to just open up our eyes a little bit. I was trying to find the e-tron, and Motor Trend did a piece. It was pretty hardcore biased here, but just kind of the way that they worded things. But their rating was right around 200 miles for this, and so I don't know. That's not great, but really the problem here is the lack of charging. So I don't know. I guess just wanted to bring that up because there definitely seem to be a lot of Tesla and everyone else sucks. And so that's not really the case. There are definitely legit EVs coming out, and we should be supportive of that. I think everyone should be looking at this as we need 100 different EV choices to the point where I would love to see a future, in the down the road, 5-10 years, where it's there's a new gas car coming out. That's weird. You know what I mean? So it was just cool to see that, and I think that. As much as I hate on Hummer for getting LeBron James to promote, I hate that whole traditional car maker way of going about it. I kind of don't care. It's as long as you're making EVs and you're trying to help push this movement forward, then I'll give you a thumbs up on that part at least.
Yeah. No, I've always been pro the, Volkswagens and Fords getting in there and doing that. I just get tired of, and you pulled up one just now, of every single time a new EV comes out, is this one going to kill Tesla? Yeah. It's come on.
Yeah. We're past that, right?
On that same note, I find it hilarious that the Hyundai Sonata was making a big deal out of Smart Park, and saying the first car to park itself, wait, what? Are you kidding? We've had this in Teslas for 2 years now.
It was a fun commercial, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good commercial. But yeah, and to your point, Tim, not only does it just go forward and backward, I can be across the parking lot, and unless my name is Joe Scott, it will not hit a curb, and it will come find me.
Yeah, supposedly it'll do that. It's never quite worked for me, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. It's just so crazy to me that even, at least some other cars are starting to get cool technology. And I still think it is that type of thing where once you realize that cars can do all these cool things and you start seeing cars as a technology and not just a car, that's when Tesla looks even better and better.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're oh, wait, well, this has it, but I guess Tesla can do this and this and this and this and this, and there's so few things that you can't just do software-wise now that Tesla's that Tesla just couldn't update to later on, too. That's the funniest thing.
Yeah, like the Porsche Taycan, having a better Nürburgring time. it's like, all right, well, once I get that plaid one, we'll see what's happening. But also like it's the matter of like, like you guys, did you get the range boost or the performance boost, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've had two 5% upgrades.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
One was range, right?
No, two 5% power upgrades.
Oh wow. And Joe, did you got some of those too, right?
Well, I don't have the performance version.
But didn't you get a range boost or something?
I did get a range boost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. And actually, it's funny because I rarely go on long road trips, so I don't normally charge it up to 100%. I just do like 80% or whatever. And I noticed this last weekend, the charging up to 100% going back and forth, like it would eke up just a little bit each time. Yeah. Like when I first charged it to go down there, it was like 3, I don't know, 17, 18, something like that. And then like on the way back, it was 324.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so yeah, I think you're totally right, Tim. I mean, largely, well, I think price is probably the biggest reason why someone wouldn't buy a Tesla. If you're looking at an electric car and you start shopping around, and for whatever reason that brought you there, you're probably going to look, at like you said, at the tech, the range, the performance, all those things, and be like, oh, well, this is objectively the best electric car out there. The only reason you probably wouldn't buy one, like I said, is again, if you could buy. In fact, we had a great question at Fully Charged Live from someone that's like from a woman that said, hey, look, I work at a mall, I make minimum wage, I want an electric car. Tesla's just not even in the picture. Even a used whatever, not even something I can consider, right? You got every other bill that you have to pay, like it's just not even. And so that's where, like, yeah, I think if you could find a $10,000, Chevy Bolt or Nissan Leaf or something like that, awesome, absolutely. Like, I think that's where I actually think we got a good question during that panel from Chelsea Sexton about what other areas are kind of wide open, right? Like, if you wanted to look at it and say, hey, let's start an electric car company, what should we make? How about a sports sedan? Like, ooh, that's going to be really, really hard. So let's find one that's maybe not. So what areas does Tesla not? I think the area that Tesla really doesn't really seem to have a play in is the really like kind of economy cars, like the $15,000 and under. So I think that there's a huge market there for Honda or Toyota, somebody that produces Volkswagen that produces those kind of cars to really kind of knock it out of the park. And I think everyone should be totally stoked on that. Regardless of how many come to market or whatever, like that would be probably a bigger impact than an even faster or longer range, EV.
Yeah. I mean, if you just want to go electric, just because that's something you've always wanted to do for whatever reason, there's plenty of options out there. Like before a year before I got the Model 3, I came this close to buying, what was it? A Fiat 500e.
Oh yeah. I so want one of those.
It was pretty dope, but I mean, it only got like about 100 miles on it of range, but But I went and test drove it, and I was like, "This is awesome."
It's fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah. If I hadn't already had a reservation on the Model 3, I would have just. It was like, do I just get this for a year and then get the Model 3, or just hang on to, I remember the deal was I had that diesel Jetta, and it needed like $5,000 of work done on it, and that Fiat was like $10,000.
Right.
So it was like, do I spend twice what I need to spend on the car just to keep it going for this new one? Or, anyway, it just worked out. I just decided to go ahead and just fix it up. But.
Yeah, and like the e-Golf thing too was kind of in that space, and that like really compact car, really economical. It's kind of funny, and we talked about it before. Like I just think that there's a point of the actual physical space of the car is too small to fit a big battery in. So unless we have unless the solid state batteries or something else come out that really are a giant leap forward in battery tech, it'll be a thing where you're like, well, okay, this is really about as good as it's going to get. But $9,000 gets you to work and back, still serves 70-80% of your needs. Hell yeah. Like that's awesome. It's not a Tesla, but the point should be, let's go electric. If you can afford a Tesla, obviously you're going to buy one, but because for that money there's not a better car out there, but if you can't afford it, I think that's my point, is like if a Tesla is just even at the cheapest level way outside of your price point, then it doesn't mean you can't go electric.
I feel like still the biggest hurdle for somebody to go electric, and I'm going to tie somebody's income level in with this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I generally associate somebody that, well, okay, if you're living in an apartment and you have to park on the street and you don't have your own garage, that's difficult to charge,
Right.
And you might also be in a position where it's a $35,000 car is just kind of out of your range or more. So I still feel like when we get it to where every parking lot has a charge station in it, where you could just park wherever it is you're working, charge up, because you're already there for, let's say, 5 to 8 hours that day. You're fully charged by the time it's time to go home.
Right.
But we're not there yet. I still feel like that's the biggest hurdle.
Yeah,
just objectively.
Right, that's a good point. So if you can't afford the base level Model 3, let's say, then chances are you probably don't own a home also, or you own a home in San Diego, and of course it's insanely expensive. But but point being, like there needs to be that lower end market, and we had some of that discussion as well, where superchargers, which I just did a video on that, which talked about how far ahead they are and how kind of great that network is. It's not everything for everyone. The supercharger network was designed for long distance travel. It's not designed as your top off point just in your neighborhood or at your work. So the thing we need to solve that, in some cities, like I know in San Diego we're doing this, is that new construction are being required to install these, and they're generally free. So, for example, where I park my car, there are 6 EV chargers, and they're all free. Even though there's 2 3, 4, 5. There's like 12 EV chargers. They're all charge point with the exception of 2, but they're all free. So even though it's charge point, it's a free one that's not listed publicly, and you have to be a resident to get in. So the thing with that's cool is then that enables this, right? It enables, hey, I can have an EV that's not a Tesla because I don't really ever need to go to a supercharger network. The only time that sucks is when I do want to go on a road trip, because then despite Electrify America and everything else growing and doing well, they still very much are, not nearly where the supercharger network is. And speaking of experienced supercharger network drivers, Timothy is back.
Hi, guys.
That kind of worked.
Yeah. Smooth transition, huh? What did I miss?
We just been vamping this whole time. I was this far away from being okay, let's just acknowledge that one of us fell off the planet for a mined, and then you popped right back up.
Florida just sank into the ocean.
Yeah. Right. The craziest thing is I'm wired in right now, hardwired in, and it's still this bad. So I had to redo everything. And I don't know. We'll see.
You look better now.
Yeah, it feels good.
A little crisper.
Let's just say it feels good.
Looking.
So what are we talking about? What did I miss for the last 10 minutes as I try to fix my internet?
We were just ranting about, how cheaper, you don't have to be rich to drive an electric car, but you probably won't get a Tesla, and that's okay.
Right.
There's lots of good options out there, and charging is kind of the big deal, but yeah.
Well, I was also going to get around to the idea that we don't have to have one car that does everything. If you are just a commuter thing in a city, then some small Chevy Bolt kind of thing probably do you just fine. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a 2-car household, you could have one EV and one gas car to take your trips on or whatever. But I feel like, and I don't know, what do you guys think? I feel like with the new EVs that are going to be coming out, maybe there's going to be a little bit more stratification, more specialized cars for different things, and especially once autonomy gets going, and we're going to have delivery services just kind of cruising around. Once the autonomy thing especially happens, there's no need for the form factor that we used to have. It could just kind of be whatever. But I'm kind of going off the rails here. I'm just saying that sometimes it bugs me when people are like, well, I need a car that can carry 17 kids and can travel 5,000 miles. And it's well, and would haul 50,000 pounds. you don't have to have one car that does everything. Like,
Right. Or you could even rent a car. There were a lot of comments on my supercharger video about that, where the guys were saying, yeah, I bought a Chevy Bolt. It was super cheap, tons of incentives, and it's my in-town car. It's fantastic. And then when I want to go on a long-distance trip, I still drive electric, but I rent a Tesla for 4 or 5 days, and overall I save a ton of money because I paid so much less for that original that cheaper car. So and it still functions basically the exact same. So in that Motor Trend article, I was kind of giving them crap for about the e-tron. One of the things they said is that it's a far more functional than a Model X. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then I'm like, oh, the doors. They're right. They are so right. Yeah, the Model X is really cool, but it is the most impractical Tesla, really, when you think about it. Like, oh, you want to put a roof rack? Sorry. Yeah, and oh, you want to lay all the seats flat? Like, yeah, not really. It's just there's so many things about it that are really cool, but it probably, looking at the Model S is probably a far more functional vehicle when it comes down to it.
But wasn't the idea behind the Falcon Wing supposed to make it more functional? Like, it's supposed to make it easier to get in and out, and it's supposed to be able to make it easier to open in tight spots. And I mean, wasn't that kind of the idea? Maybe it didn't work out that way, but
I would say it didn't work out that way.
All I know is I didn't know how to close it when I was in your car last time. So
I'll say this: putting kids in car seats with the Model X is amazing. You just stand fully upright. You just pop them right in. Otherwise you're when they're real little, it's easy, but as they get kind of in this bigger stage before they can get into the car seat themselves, you kind of have to like fish them in there. It's just very kind of awkward. So yeah, it's definitely better in that regard. But there are hundreds of other issues that come up with those doors, if there's water on the roof and it just falls all off into your car, Which
you know what? I know that minivans are obviously currently the furthest thing from cool, but it is shocking to me they couldn't take almost that exact same door design and have it so the top rail or the rail was hidden on the top roof, and slid back or something, and
on the Model X,
on a Model X instead of the big crate. But then it wouldn't be exotic.
I'll tell you what though, if they just made let's say the Falcon Wings were an option, and there was a version of it with regular doors, I bet it would have sold, double of what it did. And some people got Falcon Wing doors because it's cool and they want attention, But other people, most people would have been like, no, that's weird. And in some cases, there have been times when I parked and I'm like, crap, this is really close. Or someone parked next to me. And yeah, the Falcon Wing door was able to open fully. It's like, wow, that was amazing. Other cases, when, there's a shadow on top of the car, the door won't open at all, zero. And you're going, what the hell?
Oh, God.
So it's a mixed bag.
Well, if they ever get rid of the Falcon Wing doors, it just still has to be able to dance to Christmas music.
just going like that. Yeah, just regular.
It just has to be able to do that. That's mandatory.
Yeah, obviously.
Worth $150,000. So just real quick mention, that basically the version of this, it would be the Model Y. And there was just one bit of news to cover, which is that it finally got, so we talked about it before, it got an EPA, or got a range upgrade, but that was just estimated from Tesla, which they can just throw out whatever they want and say it's estimated, right? Like a product from Google that's just beta, right?
Yeah.
It's whatever. But now they have an actual official EPA rating, and they got the 315 miles for the Model Y. And so the question is, Tim, are you gonna trade in your Model 3 and go for this one?
I think I am. Yeah. I am a day one reservation holder, and this does just check off. Now it's official that it checks off all the boxes that I really do care about. And with as much stuff as I'm slinging in there and everything, having extra cargo room and even a bigger frunk and all of the things really is very appealing to me now. And I can sacrifice a little bit of speed, a little bit of that. Although I wonder if they're going to update their 0 to 60 times, because isn't this actually lighter weight now?
With the new batteries?
Yeah.
Well, we don't officially know about the new batteries yet. battery day is coming, and that's I think what a lot of people are expecting. Some people were sending me some stuff saying, "Oh, I think actually the Model 3 already has the Maxwell batteries." I don't know. I don't have any actual information on that. I think we're all just speculating, but hopefully in battery day we'll see. So, but look at that, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, man. That's still incredibly quick.
Oh no.
but that is, remember, that's what the performance Model 3 was originally listed at, and now it's listed at like 3. So I wouldn't be so I wouldn't be surprised if that gets updated, and when people get in, it's almost basically exactly on par with the Model 3 performance.
Well, I mean, they've we just talked about the range and acceleration boost that we've seen in the Model 3. I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those in this too over time, like software updates.
The only argument I have is where it says seating up to 7 adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. No adults are back there.
Like we just need to define what an adult is. Like you should say humans between this size.
Yeah. Yeah. Now speaking
as
of
a
EPA,
smallish adult, I take offense to that.
Speaking of EPA, Ben, you mentioned I did see that article about real world driving of the Taycan versus a Model 3.
Yeah.
What? Dude, come on. I'm sorry, but I've driven my Model 3 a ton. Real world, if I totally top it off, even in like 0-degree weather, I'll still get like 240, 250 miles. Mm-hmm. So I don't get what they're talking about here, where they're like, yeah, we drove the Taycan and it got pretty much right at its, rated range. And
no, it got way above that.
The Taycan got above its rated range?
By a lot, yeah. So they got... They got I forget where the very end of it is, but they finished 2 laps around, and it was like 260 miles or something. Huh. So when they finished, so basically they did 2 laps plus the added range at the very end, because they didn't run it to 0, which is what I would do, right? They're like, we didn't want to do that. I'm like, come on, you wuss, let's go. Like, drive this $250,000 car till it stops. But yeah, there was like 287 miles of range roughly, and I believe when I drove it, because we did a very similar thing. We went from Marina Del Rey to the Grizzly Cafe in Wrightwood, California, I believe it is, and then back down to Burbank. I think all around that was like 230, 240 miles, and we still had like of actual distance, and then we had I think 20 miles or 15 miles of range left on it. So I think in my real world test it was right around 260, 270.
Oh jeez.
So that's when I saw the 201. I'm like, oh, that's wrong. I don't know what they're talking about there.
Well, that's great.
So yeah, and that's what we were, I think you dropped off earlier, but that was my point, is I was like, these numbers are kind of bogus, man. Like, you really need to get this car and take it out there. Now, does it make this car more appealing? Maybe by a very small percentage, because really, if I'm buying a Taycan, I'm buying the fully spec'd one, and I'm taking it to a track and showing off to my buddies. That's what I'm doing. And they're all driving GT3 RSs and all the other fancy Porsches out there. It's not a Model S by any stretch. It's not even remotely the same car. Yeah. It is meant for a totally different buyer for totally different reasons. So I think that's all the argument that's always dumb. But yeah, their range test showed they beat it. My range test, real world range test, showed I beat it. Maybe in Iowa in the winter, it's not going to get that, but so it varies dramatically. But
so it kind of makes me wonder, why did Porsche make a 4-door, 4-seat car instead of like a sports car, a dedicated sports car, since it clearly has those offerings? It seems like they should have put it in more like a 911 style body than.
100% agree. Yeah, it's weird. Basically, it's going. So the true competitor, I think, that to the Taycan is the Panamera, because it's basically the same car. Like, if you look at them side by side, they're almost identical. And so that's really, I think, who the buyer is. It's the person that is stupid rich, has already several other Porsches that they love. They love the brand. But now they need one to take their kids to school in the morning, kind of a thing, and they want to have a fancy one. Like, I don't really know exactly who the buyer profile is, but I don't imagine them selling a lot of these. I don't think they intend to. So yeah, but you're right. I totally agree. Like, why, if you made this a 2-door coupe that had even better performance, it'd probably be a better seller.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about cars, we do have a Why Don't They Just that is car related, and I think it's really interesting. But maybe before we do that, why don't we take a minute and give some love to our sponsor for this week, Skillshare. We'll be right back. Thanks to Skillshare for supporting our ludicrous future. Hey, it's a new year, and many of you out there, like most people, have some kinds of resolutions or goals for 2020, and if you do have something like that, Skillshare is a great place to start. Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can learn pretty much any freaking thing on the planet. Seriously, if you're curious about it, there's an expert out there who's created an entire course around it on Skillshare. And all you have to do is just sit there in your pajamas and soak it all in. From dog grooming to cooking to business, design, and more. One good place to start might be the Productivity Masterclass by Thomas Frank. Thomas is a YouTuber and productivity expert, and he's developed this class to help you be more organized and make better use of your time. After all, time is the most precious commodity we have, even more precious than Ben's biceps. You can give Skillshare a try for free for 2 months if you sign up at Skillshare.com/OLF. You'll get unlimited access to thousands of classes, and after the free trial, it's only $10 a month for a yearly subscription. Right now, millions of people are learning and growing on Skillshare, so don't get left behind. Go to Skillshare.com/OLF. We'll put the link down in the description below. Go check it out. All right. So, gives a whip in there. So the Why Don't We Just today. So what we've been doing lately, or what I've been doing lately on the Why Don't They Just on Twitter, is I reach out to people asking for it, and basically whichever one gets the most likes is the one that we go with. And at 24 likes, as of right now anyway, today's Why Don't They Just is from Dan Mick.
Hi, Dan.
Can you see that? There you go. Or at Inc. McCormick. And he says, why don't they sell Cybertruck under the SpaceX as a manufacturer so it can qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit?
Yeah, I saw this one. I love this.
It's not a bad idea.
Well,
I mean, they're going to be using their steel anyway, right?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they made the Cybertruck.
Oh, that's funny.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's already at a pretty low price point. To pop that on there would help out.
I wonder if there's some sort of thing that has to happen. You know, okay, so if I started a company tomorrow and like, cool, I'm gonna launch stuff into space. I can't and like, let's say I could snap my fingers and I just had a rocket that technically could do that. I can't just go launch it. Right? I have to get like FAA approval. There's like all kinds of stuff. I have to like be certified like, hey, we have to like trust you that you're going to not like kill people or something, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna launch out of Nevada. You're like, no, you're not, right? So I think maybe there's some similar thing in the auto industry where it's like, well, okay, fine, but in order to be a car maker, we need to like certify these things, and you as a company need to be certified. I don't know, but otherwise, I'm in. It sounds awesome.
Oh man, I wonder. So, does anyone know like? Does Toyota and Lexus both get their own 250,000 cars sold with the EV tax credit? Or is it only Toyota?
No.
They each do.
Oh, because it's the same company. I got you.
It's the same company. What keeps companies from just splitting up all the time for more EV tax credits?
Because there's an overhead involved in that, right?
I would go with Tesla 2, Tesla 3, Tesla 4.
Yeah, I wonder. That's a good point.
Yeah,
but these aren't owned by the same company at all, right? Toyota and Lexus are owned by Toyota Holdings Group.
Yeah.
Right? Elon is the CEO of both, but he's not, and he owns the majority shareholder. But it's not like, Elon Inc. owns both of these companies. Right.
This could be the most brilliant move ever if he sold the Cybertruck as a SpaceX Cybertruck.
Well, I feel like I want to. So this literally just came through. This literally just came through on Reddit. It's sort of somewhat related. Kind of, is that SpaceX is likely to spin off a Starlink business and pursue an IPO.
Right.
So they're thinking about doing that with Starlink.
Which makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because if they do that, the same kind of a deal as I was mentioning before, like a telecommunication provider is regulated in a certain way, and probably if you make rockets, you don't want to have to deal with those.
Right.
Like, do you guys remember Sarbanes-Oxley? Have you heard of that before?
Never heard those words in my life.
See, I am
Starbrain oxidizing.
I am a tech dinosaur here. So probably a lot of people listening are familiar with this. But if you worked in corporate America in the 90s after Enron and then WorldCom scandals, part of those scandals were about separation of powers within a company. And so out of that came this regulation that it basically forced all tech companies to split kind of roles, and it kind of increased the cost of making things by about, 50% maybe. And so the point being, if you were a tech company doing these kind of things, you had all these federal regulations that force you to operate in a certain way that make it expensive to do business. So it makes a whole lot of sense that Starlink is going to be super regulated because they're a telecommunications company, that SpaceX probably wants nothing to do with that, right?
So
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
I guess for the all around, why don't they just? Maybe there's something to that.
Maybe they could.
Maybe the truck and the semi should be on their own, like their own brand or something.
Just like spin up a separate company for every model.
Yeah. Just start. This is the new model, or the new brand is Cybertruck. And it's the Cybertruck.
Well, yeah, because that's not uncommon, right? Dodge Ram is a truck, but now it's called Ram is the brand, right? So that's certainly that kind of thing certainly happens, right?
Well, isn't that what's happening with Hummer too? Like, it used to be its own brand, and now it's like under GMC or something.
It's happening in reverse.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they're now getting back under.
Yeah.
Right.
Hummer is a specific
Weird
model, whereas before Hummer was its own brand.
Right.
But then the brand it was GMC, and then it got sold to some Chinese company, and then it got bought back by GMC, and then they shut it down like 11 years ago. So
super weird.
yeah,
The saga of the Hummer.
a bunch of dumb stuff about Hummer now.
That's crazy. Well, should we talk about space since we're talking about Starlink and stuff like that?
Good segue.
Yeah, it's time to go space. So I just wanted to mention real quick, we had just, I think yesterday, or wait, when is today-ish, basically right now? Well, I guess, or yesterday if you're listening to this in the future, whatever. Sometime in the past, we had some astronauts return. So astronaut Christina Cook from NASA, and then Alexander Skvortsov and also Luca Parmitano all returned from the International Space Station on the Soyuz MS-13 spacecraft. And this is
Welcome
awesome
home.
because, what was that?
I said, welcome home.
Yeah, welcome home. And what's cool is Christina Cook is just super awesome. She did a lot of really impressive things. She almost broke the all-time space record for a single stay in space. She's only I think 12 days short of Commander Scott Kelly. As everyone kind of is familiar with Scott Kelly's quote-unquote year in space. Well, that was I believe that was 340 days. And she came in and I'm not even hearing too many headlines about this, but she logged 328 days. I mean, that's pretty much, just not even 2 weeks shy of the
awesome.
U.S. record. I believe that, I think Scott Kelly and I forget his name, but I think they actually share the record because they both flew on the exact same missions. His Russian counterpart in that mission also flew 340 days. But she, Christina Cook was part of the first Women Spacewalk, and all women spacewalk, which kind of made some headlines earlier this year, which in my opinion, that should just be a thing because there's been so many awesome women astronauts. It was just a weird coincidence, and that at some point that we hadn't even had 2 women doing a spacewalk until just last year. So it made headlines, and it also made headlines because they had this whole spacesuit fiasco. And what people don't realize is that spacesuits take 4 hours to change sizes. So I don't know if you remember the headline saying NASA canceled a spacewalk because they didn't have the spacesuits that could fit women. I don't know if you remember that. That was kind of
right.
That was
yeah,
the spin.
and then a bazillion social justice warriors jump on it, like NASA is the most racist organization and blah blah blah, and you're like, what?
Yeah, the reason is it has nothing to do with that they didn't have the size for the women. It's just that anytime you change the parts are all interchangeable. To be able to like make spacesuits to be able to fit different people and the EVA suits to be able to fit different astronauts, and it takes about 4 hours to swap the parts over to change sizes. So literally, just for a scheduling purpose, it did not make sense to have that. I think that was like last March. And again, it kind of made headlines. It's like, oh, they canceled it because they didn't have the right. They have the right size stuff. It's just a matter of scheduling, and that's probably the same reason why it didn't necessarily happen the first all-woman spacewalk until last year. It's just because sometimes scheduling happens, but there's still. I mean, I think we're up to like almost 25% of NASA's astronaut corps is women. So we'll see a lot more all-women everything as they continue to finally level the playing field and get closer to that 50-50. So Christina Cook has just been amazing, doing a lot of awesome work. She did tons of science up there in space. And yeah, I just wanted to just give a quick shout out to her because she had an awesome 328 days in space. That's super cool. So I thought that was worth mentioning this week, and welcome home to those astronauts. And we're getting closer now. Let's see, did I have... So there's some stuff that's coming out too. I didn't really get an article for this one, but this week we were seeing a lot of reports for Boeing Starliner. And why didn't I put that in there? Did I put that in there? No, I didn't, but I'll just talk about it anyway. So we're getting some reports back from NASA about Starliner and SpaceX's progress. And one of the things that's really interesting is apparently there's Boeing had a problem with explosive bolts on their separation between basically too much space debris or something. Here we go. Boeing takes, no, that's something else. But basically it's looking like SpaceX they're moving forward for their, not for DM2, but the next mission, which will be an actual, legitimate flight crew. That spacecraft is going to be rolling out of the factory early, almost 3 months early, actually. So ahead of schedule, which is so cool to hear. It really is sounding like SpaceX is ramping up to be flying people here in like May. And they're finalizing their qualifications and all that stuff with NASA. On the other hand, unfortunately, it sounds like Starliner has had problems now. A lot of things are under review. So I'm starting to lose hope that will happen this summer. I am starting to wonder, there's so many little things that need to be reworked with Starliner that I'm wondering if crew will fly on it this year at all.
Wow.
So, but hopefully we get one of these two providers to finish up here and get ready, and we'll actually see people flying from U.S. soil again for the first time in 9 years. And actually, I think it's May 11th. I might be wrong here, but I'll double check myself. But STS-135, I think the last time it launched, or the last space shuttle mission, not the last time STS launch date was July 8th, 2011. Okay, so hopefully we break 9 years. Hopefully it doesn't slip till July, but. Yeah, that was the last time.
Because we love round numbers, we'll just push it back a year, so it's on the 10 year.
There you go. Oh, please no. Please no. I really, really, really want the commercial crew to fly this year.
But it wouldn't be a decade because there was no year zero.
You're right. It would not be 10 years.
Doesn't count.
It'd be 9 years and I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Tim, did you see that SpaceX opened it up so that you can put a satellite on their rideshare program?
Yes, that's actually what I was going to talk about next.
Uber for space.
I've got it pulled up if you want me to share it.
Yes, please share the payload guide or whatever.
Yeah.
SpaceX small sat rideshare program. This is really cool. So
you can just do it online. So if you have $1 million sitting around,
that's it.
Yep. Which is
in a satellite.
I thought it was like, I want to put an iPhone up there and just have it live stream and just see what happens.
Just a little, teddy bear up there. Doesn't cost much.
What's cool? So this has actually been, done for a while. Don't forget, there's been, what's the company? Was it just Spaceflight? Is that what I'm thinking of?
We looked at it last week, didn't we? Where
so many appendices.
They have like the user manual online and stuff like that, and you're like,
so many acronyms. Look at all these acronyms. It's nerd heaven.
It's like heaven, yeah.
Wow.
We should have a quiz show with like trying to quiz Tim on these acronyms here.
I would
Okay. Here, so
love that.
what is ITAR?
ITAR. It's ITAR restricted. That's International Treaties Arms Regulations, maybe?
Traffic and arms regulations. Fail.
Dang it.
What
so I can't see that,
is-
by the way. It's too small on my screen, so I'll look over here just in case.
What is CLA?
CLA. Cool, Los Angeles. I have no idea.
Coupled loads analysis?
Ooh, that's a new one for me. That's awesome.
Do the top one.
AFS command.
What?
Air Force Space Command Manual.
Thank you. But no, you were supposed to say AFSPCMAN. What is that
Well, I
one?
was trying to ask man.
Ass man.
Ask man. Okay, I kept
No, that's
interrupting you,
awesome.
Tim. Sorry, talk.
What is Q?
No, but
Speak.
But basically, so somewhere I saw, I don't remember where it is, but basically, this is huge cost savings. Now we're getting to the point where, and don't forget, these are not dedicated rides. So you do have to do ride share, which means you're limited on when, if you miss your ride, you'll be waiting another year, basically. But it's, something like what would cost, 3.7 million would have cost 22 million previously with spaceflight. So yeah, huge savings. Really cool. And I'm really glad to see that program, solidifying now. It's very much coming to life. Okay. So yeah, the thing that I was trying to remember was the company spaceflight. That's why it's always confusing. The company spaceflight has been doing stuff like this for years, where you basically contact spaceflight because you have, say, a small satellite that you'd like to have it ride share on something, so you're not having to spend 62 million on a Falcon 9 or something. You contact spaceflight, they arrange it with a couple different things, and they have all these ways of making it cost savings. But here's Stromly Blight on Reddit noticed that SpaceX can launch a 750 kilogram satellite to low Earth orbit for $3.75 million, while it would have cost $22 million if you had done that same service through spaceflight. So, yeah, major, 5-6 times cost savings, basically. So that's substantial. It's still the one thing to remember, though. This, like I was saying earlier, it's not a dedicated rideshare. So things like Rocket Lab, if you need to, most of these launches are all going to be sun synchronous orbits or some kind of, I don't exactly know the orbits that a lot of these rideshare missions with SpaceX will be. But if you need to do something more unique, there is definitely still a reason to go with someone like Electron. And especially if, say, you're developing a satellite that time is of essence and you really need to get it up there quickly, prove out the technology before you make a whole batch of them or something. I think at this point you could pretty much call Rocket Lab and their Electron and get it up in space within months almost. Or really soon, probably by next year, it'd be a matter of 2 or 3 months. Whereas opposed to a rideshare service like this, oftentimes it's a year or two for you to wait. So if you're really in a competitive marketplace where you're trying to get your technology proven, get it up in space, get it operating, all these things, some of these small sat launchers still will have a place in the market because they're so dedicated. It's kind of like it really is the difference between if you were even flying, say, first class on like a 737 versus a chartered plane. There's always going to be people that are like, I'll take the chartered plane because I want to make sure that I'm getting to my destination on time. I don't want to have to worry about delays and connections and all these things or whatever, and where chartered planes, like you get here, you're going there, period, Yeah.
Yeah.
It leaves when you're ready to leave. So if you're
Yeah.
waiting around for this rideshare, is it like the same feeling, standing outside of a bar, like with your phone? You're like, when's a rocket going to get here? Like, has a map. It's like going across the country. You're like, oh, God, come on.
It's going around that weather hat. That
Why is it
weather
turning
front.
left now? Oh.
People will complain about this someday.
Seriously, that might be something that we have to look into. But lastly, for space stuff, I just wanted to reflect with you guys, because as we record this, we are 2 years from when we had the Falcon Heavy demo flight. And I just wanted to get your guys' recollections on that and kind of reflect back at what all has changed in 2 years already. Only 2 years ago. So
That's with the Roadster one.
that was with the Roadster,
Not
the
one
demo
that-
mission.
Not the one we all went to. Well,
No.
you were probably there, but
No, I went to DM1, but So just to remind you guys, this was February 6th of 2018. This is the first time SpaceX flew the Falcon Heavy, which, is the 3 cores all stuck together. We all know what it is now. It's pretty hard to miss Falcon Heavy these days. It definitely made a name for itself because of this mission. And it's where they lobbed, Elon's original Roadster out into space and sent it out they basically flexed the muscles of how much power the Falcon Heavy has because they threw the Roadster out beyond Mars, significantly beyond Mars. But the crazy thing is, when you look at the number of launches per year, notice that was 2018, and look at what happened before that. There's just so few launches. The first Falcon Heavy flew in 2018. Last year we had a little bit of a slowdown, but it's just funny to think that it was 2015 when they first landed a rocket, and it was just over 2 years later, like 2 years and 1 month later, 2 years and 2 months later when they launched the Falcon Heavy. And now how all this stuff is already looking so normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Launching and reusing rockets is hilariously normal. If you go back to that chart quick, the launch, and by the way, we're at spacexstats.xyz, an awesome website. What's cool is it shows how many times used. Look at how many used vehicles have been used now compared to brand new. So brand new is the dark blue, used is that light blue. In 2020, we haven't seen a brand new vehicle fly. It's all been reflown boosters. Last year, it was almost all reflown boosters. In 2018, it was about 50-50. And just look at how much has changed in 2 years.
How is it possible with the every 2 week launches of Starlink stuff that we're going to have fewer launches this year than in 2018?
I think that's conservative. Yeah.
This is maybe ones that are on the flight plan or something, or?
Yes, because I think there's going to be about that many without Starlink.
Oh, okay. So that's not even counting the Starlink launch.
It just might not be counting Starlink, or it might just be very conservative and just kind of because I don't think right. Because I don't think all the Starlink missions are on the actual official manifest.
Okay.
I don't know, and I'm sure that'll stack up. I guarantee it. Sans some major, asteroid hitting all of their launch sites or something in their manufacturing plant. This will be a record-breaking year by far for SpaceX and for spaceflight in general. We're going to be coming up on some serious launches.
Yeah.
Serious launches.
It does seem like they happen really, with increasing frequency.
Yeah. So where were you guys? Did both of you guys tune in live and watch it live?
I live streamed it.
Oh, yeah.
Which I haven't really done any live streaming of launches just because why would I when you do such a good job of it?
Or when I do it at all.
Did I watch it live? What time of day was it? I don't think I did. Was it early in the morning?
No, it was straight up middle of the afternoon. It would have been late morning, I think, for Pacific time.
Yeah, I probably did watch it then. Yeah, but I was probably at here, in my studio trying to edit or something normal, and then just probably threw it up on a screen. I remember thinking, well, they've had a good run. If one of them's gonna blow up, it's gonna be this one. Because I'm you just strap 3 of them together and it's gonna work. Right. And it was flawless, right? It was incredible, and then you had that shot of Elon running outside, kind of a thing, and that was so cool. That captured the world's attention again. I think that was a major moment. Landing a rocket on a barge was mind blowing. I think everybody worldwide was like, "Did you hear about that? That's insane!" And then they see this, and to get the footage of the Starman and stuff, that was epic, man. I mean, which is ironic because I still, we've talked about it, and obviously I'm maybe a little bit sharper than the average tool in the shed, but not the sharpest. And I'm looking at it going, why do we really need this? It's because of the fairing is the same size, right? The payload is technically the same size. It's just heavier. So I keep looking at I was shocked later to learn of oh, I thought maybe you could launch, quadruple the amount at the same time or something. But just seeing it there, I think really sparked that interest worldwide again, which is so cool.
Well, let me ping you on this then. Let's see how much you've learned since you've been a part of this show. So what is the point? If the payload size, if the volume of the fairing is the same, What is the point?
So heavier is one, but not just heavier, further into space, because the two side boosters will get you. So with just one booster, you're going to be spent getting it into a certain, like the Falcon 9 has a maximum like distance at which it can put something, even if you don't try to recover it. But this, because of that, you can get things further out, I guess is my guess.
Joe, what do you think? Do you think he's right?
Basically what he said. I think he's pretty close.
Yeah. I think you pretty much nailed it. It's the real thing is the Falcon Heavy allows you to reuse the boosters, land the boosters in theory, although they've only landed one out of their 3 flights so far, unfortunately. But allows you to reuse the whole vehicle while still actually putting up more payload than what even an expendable Falcon 9 can do.
Right.
So now all of a sudden we're getting, a pretty big payload increase while also increasing reusability. And the big thing is not necessarily payload, but like you said, Delta V works where if you have a lot of weight to get it to the same place as a lighter one, it just takes substantially more energy because you're having to, push more mass around while, you only have the same amount of fuel, right, basically. So pushing around something that weighs twice as much, it substantially affects where you can actually go in space. So even to get it into low Earth orbit or to get it out to geostationary orbit or say to the moon or deep space missions, I mean, it's hard.
A lot more fuel. Yeah,
a lot more fuel.
B.
Yep. And so the center core basically gets that free ride. Not a free ride, but it throttles way down. So for most of the ascent, for the first bit until the side boosters let go, that center core is kind of just holding on to its buddies, and its buddies are, boosting it up into the first little bit. And then once they separate, it can throttle back up smoothly and continue on. So pretty cool.
Can I just point out that right now Tim looks like he's got like a helicopter cap on?
Of course I do.
I was going to say the propeller is really flying.
I just can't stop looking at it.
The Falcon Heavy.
If you guys are just listening, there's
ridiculous.
a mirror behind him with a ceiling fan going.
Yeah, a bit ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tim is saying this like really profound sciencey stuff, and I'm like, you got a funny hat. Thing's spinning.
Seriously, that's all right though. But yeah, Joe, so you live streamed it. What were your thoughts? Yeah. Did you have any I don't know, did you cry? Were you excited? Did you soak it in? Did you rewatch it? What happened?
As we were sitting here talking, I was searching on Facebook because when I got up, when you get up in the morning and you check your Facebook, it always has this is a memory from 2 years ago or whatever.
Oh, right.
Well, my memory from 2 years ago this morning was something that I put up from the launch, which was basically as they were landing, and I was like, I remember watching because we'd all see the animation, right? Mm-hmm. To what it was supposed to look like, and when those things came down, I was just like, it looks fake. I know this is gonna stir a lot of But that's kind of how I felt. I was like, that's insane. My brain couldn't process what it was looking at, and I literally was like live streaming.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, by the way, if you're listening, it's just an utterly shocked face of Joe Scott. Yeah. Picture that.
They could probably
now you
figure
know
that
what
out.
that silence was.
Which is my normal face. So I mean, I don't know. It was the landing. Just seeing that stands out to me as just the moment that I was just like brain.exe not working anymore, and but afterwards when they put together that video of it set to Rocket Man. Is it Rocket Man?
No,
Life on Mars.
Yeah.
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. Yeah.
I still will watch that and just like get a lump in my throat. It's just so amazing.
My son loves rocket launches. He loves watching them. Like those, have you seen those compilations people do of just every rocket launch kind of a thing for last year or something like that? He still wants to just watch that one, the Falcon Heavy Life on Mars one, because he's basically like, why do the other ones suck? Like there's no music, there's no drama,
Yeah. That's
There's
really
a guy in a suit in a car.
Yeah.
Right. The I do have to say, if I hadn't watched those boosters land and see them with my own eyes, and like you were saying, Joe, how insane that looked and how similar that looked to the animations and things like that, I think I'd have a really hard time believing it, honestly, because it's just like, how on earth did that look exactly like that? It's just absolutely wild.
It was just the exact same angle and everything. You could probably, somebody's probably done this, but you could like put them side by side, and it's
almost
it looked
exactly
like
the same.
wait, is that real? And just how smooth and perfect they came down at the exact same time. And then we saw it in person. Well, right, but I mean, and then we saw it in person like a year later or something, and it still had that feeling of like, am I really seeing this? Like, even literally, I mean, it was farther away, but you could see what was happening. Like, it's really weird how you can, like, where we were at, when the boosters separated, you could still see it. Like, you could actually see them peel off and start. It's really, really tiny up in the sky, but it was just wild, Yeah. And then I just think, oh, that's it. Like that didn't go right. Like, that's not how. But then I'm like, wait, they're coming back. What's it? It was so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that stuck out to me when we were there actually seeing it was, and I've said this a million times, but like how they are just literally falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
Like they are just falling as fast as something that heavy you think would be falling. And then it's just like in the last 10 seconds maybe is when everything lights up and it's just like, oh, okay, no, we're landing, we're fine. It's like, God, that's insane.
Yeah, because prior to that, it just has the fins and then little CLPVs or something to kind of reorient it or something. Well, it has a boost back. And
the boost back, they do an entry burn too, way up there.
Okay. Yeah.
And that prevents them from just smacking into the atmosphere and getting totally torn to shreds,
But once it's in the atmosphere, it is just falling.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like a plane out of the sky, just
15-story building just coming down.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yep. It's crazy. And it does totally look like it's not going to be able to land because it's coming so fast. When you see it, you're like, oh no.
Like that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
and then
failed.
They fire up those engines at the last second and absolutely nail it. And it's just crazy that they can do that.
Yeah, and the thing too is you don't normally get to see that, right? Because it lands out on a barge somewhere.
Yeah,
so you don't really...
some missions, like CRS missions, will land back at land, and it's just not nearly as common as the ones that land on the drone ships. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, not only is it two of them at the same time, it's coming back to land, which is an extra. So it's nuts, man. I wonder why they do that instead of like. Well, I mean, there you go. Why don't they just land them all on barges? It seems like that maybe would be easier. I don't know.
It would actually definitely allow you'd have a more powerful. You'd increase your payload capacity by like 20% if they landed all three. You could have the center core or the side cores, not do the boost back burn and instead continue going forward, giving a little more velocity and things like that. And the thing is, your fleet just grows 3 times from what it is for recovery vessels, and it's sort of like are there payloads that need that? Yeah, but are there payloads that need that versus maybe there's one payload out there that would need that? Versus now you have to buy 2 more things and 10 more tugboats and all these things. Like, is that going to be worth it? Will that
There's
pay
a
off?
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in theory, you could land them all on barges and get increase.
Yeah, and you can expend the center core. There's a lot of things you can do. You can expend the whole rocket and get a crazy amount, over 60 tons to orbit, which is a lot. That's way, way, way up there. But it's just
So the other thing about the first launch, the demo launch or whatever, with Starman on it and the Roadster and everything, not to wax philosophical or whatever, but like the psychological power of the imagery of a car in space with a dude sitting in it and the Earth just rotating behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, again, it's one of those things your brain just doesn't know how to process what it's seeing.
Right.
So it's just so impactful in that way. But also, for a company that wants to send millions of people to Mars, it's sort of just like planting that seed of, we can do this. Like, we can be a ride. I mean, it's literally in a car. It can be we can be a ride to Mars. And this is something that humanity, not SpaceX, but humanity can do. And it was inspiring. It was just crazy inspiring.
I think that's what's uniquely cool about space stuff is the collaborative nature of it. right? Like you don't have to be American to see that and be like, that's awesome. But if let's say, I don't know, an American in the Olympics does something, I guess sports kind of brings people together in that regard too. But you're still like, screw that guy. Like I want to do it better, right?
Right.
Here it's like it's above any of the humanness aspect. It's more of like a species level kind of a thing.
Yeah.
There aren't too many things like that out there, right? That are free from. I mean, hell, even during the Cold War, like we were working with Russia on stuff, right? Like it's a thing.
A little. I mean, yeah. No, it is the bonding. This is what makes me so excited about spaceflight is how it does bond. And like Joe, like you were saying, I mean, it's that the whole idea of a car, something we're so familiar with in space, like it kind of
that is your origin story.
Kind of. Yeah.
That's exactly your origin story. You found a space flight suit or a flight suit and just started taking pictures of that in grocery stores and regular places.
Yeah, it's almost like the opposite of that. It's like
instead
space
on
things
Earth
on ground, ground things in Earth. Yeah, I mean, but it's that same like juxtaposition that is super crazy,
The everyday thing and the not everyday thing colliding.
I think they call that fish out of water.
Yeah.
Have you heard that terminology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a thing in like videos, Anyways, it's like a type. It's like a format for making interesting videos.
Oh, I got you.
online.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You take someone and put them in a situation that is not their normal thing that maybe makes them uncomfortable, and we all like to see a train wreck, right? So like that's what it is. So
Yeah.
not to say your channel's a train wreck, Tim.
Thanks.
But
I understood what you said.
It's a rocket explosion.
Far more interesting.
Oh.
Well, so can I switch topics just real quick, and then we can probably wrap this up. This is one of these things that kind of went viral, so I kind of hate to even talk about it because it's just kind of like hanging on to a viral thing. But my wife and I had a conversation about this, and I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts about it. But have you heard this whole thing about the inner monologue? How some people have an inner monologue and some people don't?
No, I didn't know that people
like
don't. I guess.
Is this how I talk to myself in the car for hours while I'm driving?
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, so this just kind of like got everywhere lately about how like I guess some guy got on Twitter and he found out that some people don't have an internal narrative. Some people have an internal narrative and some people don't. Some people's thoughts are just sentences they hear, and some people just have abstract nonverbal thoughts and have to consciously verbalize them. And most people aren't aware of the other type of person. I'd actually heard this more recently. Like, this isn't just a brand new thing for me, but it just suddenly started getting everywhere on social media lately. It kind of blew up. And my wife shared it on Facebook yesterday because she's one of the people that does not have an internal monologue. Like, she does not think in complete sentences. She thinks in abstract images and words and phrases. And then she has to like kind of work to put those together when she wants to verbalize them. And I'm the exact opposite. I have not just monologues, but dialogues in my head. Like before I have a conversation with anybody, like I'm imagining what that might be.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do the really stupid thing of having an argument with that person in my head and then getting mad at them for something that they said in my head before I ever talk to them.
Yes.
That's how dumb I am.
No, don't they call, I mean, that's like a version of shower thoughts too, and like shower conversations.
Yeah,
where you're in the shower, like, well, you didn't say that. Or like,
she must be able to fall asleep real easily because
she does.
That's part of my problem. Is my brain is always like, wait, but what about this? Did you think?
Yeah.
That's actually interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Because she has like I always say she has like a button on the side of her head, and the second her head hits a pillow, she's just out immediately. Whereas I'm up all night long wondering when I'm gonna die.
Well, and do you guys, Spirit of the Stairway, do you guys know what that is? It's that thing where you might be leaving somewhere and you got in an argument with someone, and as you walk down the stairs, you're thinking of all the things you should have said. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, do people not have that then? Are people out there just...
Well, so I guess both of you guys have an inner monologue. You think in complete sentences.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. Well, so do I.
Did you also know that some people wipe from the back?
Truly,
I bet we could cross-reference that and see.
This is
like,
no, but there are a lot of weird things about humanness that like you are one or the other, and you don't even know the other one exists.
Right. Yeah.
The first time
That's
I heard
kind of
that,
what
I
this
was
is
like,
about.
"What?" I was like, "Who is it? What?" And I'm like researching it, like, "Huh? What is going on?"
Can I just highlight really quickly that this is on IFL Science, and one of the popular stories over here is doctors warn men not to masturbate with banana peels, and men are not happy. This is a real article.
When men are not happy, that's my favorite part. Like there's a whole like the first part, okay, whatever. Sure, there's like two people out there, but then and men like are all of us supposed to be like, oh no, like what?
Wait, you're supposed to just throw away the banana peel after you eat it? How wasteful.
10 things that will actually make you blind. Right?
Oh,
Well, so just really quick on that topic, just to kind of wrap it up. But one of the things that my wife pointed out was that the other people that she had that conversation with that don't have the inner monologue are all artists of some kind, like painters and stuff. So I was like, is it a chicken and egg thing? Like, did you become an artist because you think more visually and abstract, or do you think more visually and abstract because you have this training as an artist? You know?
Wait, so artists don't have the inner monologue normally?
Well, I'm not trying to make a generalization, but I'm saying that yes, my wife is an artist and she does not have an inner monologue, and the other artists that she knows said the same thing.
So what's my deal?
What's your deal?
Because I'm an artist.
Do you paint?
I draw. Yeah.
What is art?
I grew
Joe?
up drawing. Like
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that these are the guys that like actually paint and stuff. My wife is a painter, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, growing up, I would have always just considered myself like when I grew up, I thought I would just be an artist. I just thought it'd be like a drawer.
Well, you play music.
Yeah,
right?
I think Joe's more speaking like fine arts, like visual mediums.
But that's just
I'm
a
not
tough
trying to
question.
delineate
You know?
anything. I
Yeah.
just,
yeah.
Like, is literature art?
But see, like as
Photography?
somebody who has spent most of my life writing, of course I think in sentences.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
That makes total sense.
It would be interesting if you were a good writer, but you didn't have that. You know, that'd be like a more direct correlation of, well, wait, how are you writing these things if your brain isn't already doing that?
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting conversation. Thought I
Yeah.
would bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go for a lot of walks here. I work in downtown San Diego, and there's all kinds of cool stuff to go see. And I do these like long walks, and sometimes I catch myself just kind of mumbling and random conversation kind of happening, and I'm like, people probably think I'm like a crazy homeless person walking around here, you know, other than I, you know, maybe dress nicer hopefully, but other than that, like I look like one of those people just screaming at something as they're going down the street.
All you need to do is just put an earbud in, and
Yeah.
everybody thinks you're on the phone.
Just to just to
That's my
cover
trick.
that, like
Yeah.
it's not on. It's just making it look.
Well, and that was another thing that I asked my wife when we were talking about it, was if she ever talks to herself. And she said no. And I was like, I'm always talking to myself
Out loud?
Yeah.
out loud in my car. If there's nobody else around, I mean, seriously, if there was a camera on me, I would look insane.
Well, you,
And I think 90% of, that's exactly what my TMI channel is. It's just me talking
Yeah.
to myself and, you know, making
Yeah.
content with it,
Yeah, that's true.
basically.
Well, speaking of your TMI channel, what are you working on?
Well, I still need to write and record this, so we'll see if I get it out on Monday or not. But I'm working on a video about the placebo effect, about the fact that you can take a sugar pill and it will actually do what you think it's supposed to do simply by thinking it's supposed to do it.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in this because I grew up around this homeopathic thing, which is like
Right.
now cool again. You know, I grew up a kid like, Mom, amethyst crystals aren't going to help my broken arm. And she's like, we just have to put them in the right position to get the harmony.
Right.
And I'm like, can I go to the doctor? And she, you know, but
And I
now,
have to go to the doctor now.
yeah, now that's a thing, right? I mean, what is Gwyneth Paltrow's thing, right? Like this, you just
Right.
burn this candle and you won't get pregnant, right?
I saw a meme where somebody had glued crystals to their steering wheel, like
Yeah,
all over their steering wheel, and it says, it says something like, it said now the chakras in my car are perfectly aligned or something, and somebody commented underneath it was like, congratulations, you just turned your airbag into a Claymore mine.
Oh my God, yes. Holy cow.
Man.
That's funny, but also not. I really hope that
Right.
doesn't happen to that person.
Well, one little spoiler of the video, something that I ran across, is that there is a case of a guy who overdosed on placebo pills.
I don't.
Dang.
On sugar, you mean?
He thought they were real pills. He was depressed. He was trying to, I guess, off himself. So he downed the whole bottle, wound up in the hospital, and then they realized, oh, this was actually just nothing.
They're like, nothing's
And
wrong
then
with
once
you.
they told him, once they told him that it wasn't real, he was better.
So
He's like,
so
oh, okay, never mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he probably like
Can't even kill myself right.
so he's probably just sitting there like, oh, I'm so like puking and stuff. But it's just sugar. He just had a sugar high.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's funny.
Man,
Oh.
that is you're gonna get a lot of interesting comments on that one for
I'm
sure.
sure I will. Well, I always do. So.
What about you,
guys?
Ben?
I've got that Ford interview coming out. I wasn't sure what to do with it because I just kind of looked at it like, man, like what's going on with this? But then after Fully Charged, it seems like there is very much a weird kind of sentiment out there about like Ford isn't legit, isn't really making electric cars. And so I had a chance to sit down with Darren Palmer, the head of product development for all battery electric vehicles at Ford, and we had a good 30-minute chat about it. So I just think that like there's some, I mean, people will take away what they want from it. Some people will still be like, I hate you. Other people are like, oh, cool. But it was just, I want to share that because having that experience helped me get a better perspective on where Ford is at in this whole EV thing. So that's coming out next Tuesday, and then trying to get some more stuff done. But yeah, that'll be later.
That's cool. I gotta be honest. If I wish the Mach-E had been at Fully Charged, I would have been all over that. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, it was such a whirlwind. There was a lot of stuff I didn't get to see. I didn't really get to see the Taycan like at all. I just kind of walked past it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I feel like if the Mach-E had been there, I would have gone out of my way to see it because I'm interested in
it's
that.
an interesting thing, and people were saying, oh, it's barely as good as a 2012 Model S, but the deal is that it's $35,000 base price. Yeah. So yeah, like a 2012 Model S was like what $85,000-$90,000 base price. So yeah, you're getting actually a great deal, and I think it's a mass market EV. Like it's from Ford. So I mean, despite what maybe people have more progressive mindset about these things, there are tons of people in this country who do not trust a company like Tesla. They think they're going bankrupt. Despite all the things that we know to be true, there are stalwarts that are like, never would I buy a car. But Ford, oh well, I know Ford. Right. It's funny. Most people I know that actually have had Fords hate them because they break down and all this. But point being, who they are, so there's a comfortable feeling there. Right. And I think it is a compelling product, and I try to look at it from that angle of like history between companies and things. Like, look, everybody's just trying to kick and scratch and win this game of making the most money. And that's just how our society works in this country. So any company that's not doing that isn't doing it really. But point being, like, so I try to set aside that and say, who is making legit compelling products? I find the Mach-E to be a compelling product. I don't think I would buy one, but I think it is a compelling product that a lot of people will buy. And that is worth, I think, giving them some credit for and talking about.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, you guys know what I'm working on. The same things as always. But
the Raptor video.
I've been driving basically. Yeah. Back to the Raptor.
Part 2.
No, I've been driving pretty much since the show. So I left Sunday, or Monday was that? Yeah, Monday, drove all night. Worked in Austin for a little bit, but then drove Monday, Tuesday, just got to Florida Wednesday. So I haven't even had time to do any of the stuff really that I've been excited to catch up on. So I'm hoping to get that video about how we did the telescope thing out ASAP. I'm just feeling that burn of I haven't posted an edited video since February or January 2nd.
Dude,
and it's like,
I'm so jealous.
No, yeah.
No, you don't want this feeling. It's a feeling of which sucks because I've been doing a lot of stuff. It's just not stuff that's showing up on YouTube right now. So I feel
you're living the dream, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing well. I think,
you're
part of
living
it
a
is
dream.
I look at that and I'm jealous in a way because part of it is you get to go down these deep rabbit holes of things Whereas me, I have this insane fear of if I don't put a video out, regardless of the quality, that's it, game over. So it's more of a grind of show me the money. I don't care. Like what have you done for me lately, kind of thing. Like I only care about now. So it's Right. But I get that urge of like, oh, okay, well, dang, it's been 2 months. I better get something out. For me, I would just probably pack it in. I'd be like, I'm done. If I didn't do a video for 2 months, just forget YouTube.
Yeah, no, we'll see. Maybe in another week or two, I'll finally have a video out. But I'm going to live stream. I need to set this up today, but I'm going to try to do a really simple live stream. There's a cool launch tomorrow night, or tonight if you're listening to this. The Solar Orbiter probe is launching, and I'll be going. I'm just going to hang out on the beach. I didn't get press credentials for it. I was too late. I didn't realize I'd be in Florida still. So I'm going to go watch it on the beach and just do a simple live stream, way stripped down compared to what I did the other day. But just I'll have my iPad on me, just going through stuff and watch it live from the beach, which I've never done before. And it's a night launch. I think it'll be really cool. Yeah.
Think you'll get that big plume, or does that only happen?
We'll see a plume,
dusk,
but
right?
Yeah, it's pre-dawn or post-dusk for about an hour is when it's really good.
Yeah.
So we won't get that because it'll be way too late. But you still will, at the end of stage separation, I mean, stuff just looks crazy anyway at night. So, yeah.
Because wasn't Falcon Heavy the one we went to supposed to be at night originally?
I don't remember. But the next Falcon Heavy was at night.
Oh,
the
right, okay.
STP2 mission was at night, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I remember Tripp talking about it from SpaceX at the event. Like he actually thinks it's more special when it's at night.
Yeah, I've only seen one night launch, so I'm excited. And this is only my second night launch, and both of them have been Atlas V launches, I think, that I've seen at night. I don't think I've seen any SpaceX launches at night or anything. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
so we'll see you.
Yeah.
In
our
ludicrous
future. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you like what we do and you want to kind of help get it out there, you can give us a nice review on any of your podcast streaming platforms, whichever one you use. That kind of helps get it out there. Also, we do have a Patreon set up, so you can join us there at patreon.com/ourludicrousfuture. You can get your name in the credits, meet a whole other group of like-minded people. It's a lot of fun. We do appreciate it. We'll see you there. Thanks.